It is Thursday, June 30th in the nation's capital. We are staring at July. We are staring at July 4th, and we're staring at our special in-studio guest. Here's Riggo and daughter Coco.
All right. Yes, indeed, Toddy. We have little Miss Coco with us today. Coco, how you been?
I'm good. I've been doing good.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you for having me again.
Okay, you're welcome. I was going to say, now, what I was going to say was that I was going to introduce Coco as the star of stage, screen, and television. But I can only introduce her as a star of stage.
Oh.
But her sister, who we will have on at some point in time, Hannah, is if I introduce her, I'd say she's the star of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
She got a film credit. But now, you're sitting here, stage, screen, and television.
And film. Yeah.
Grandpa.
He's five-tool player.
I'm what they call it.
Five-tool
What
player.
they call it? I'm the hat trick.
Yeah.
All three.
And the name, so Hannah, and that was a hell of a movie. What's the name of that movie? I always forget the name of it. Yeah, Colin Farrell, John Voight.
Oh, it's
Pride and
Glory.
Pride and Glory.
I've actually never seen it.
It is, you probably just now at the age that you should be seeing it because it has some extreme violence that shook me up watching it, but it is a really good movie. Ed Norton Jr., I believe, is also some major stars.
Yeah.
And your sister, she's, as I told her many years ago, I'm pretty sure she won the best supporting actress. Child actor. I think she passed the potatoes in a scene to mom or dad.
I think she was like wearing her pajamas, walking around.
Yes, Hannah crushed it.
Yep.
They filmed at least her parts. Well, they did it in a couple places. One, they did it over in what do you call it, Coney Island, over in that area of Brooklyn. It wasn't Coney Island, but it was close by. There was a football field.
Yes.
You remember there's a scene in there.
Yeah.
And I drove her over to that. We didn't get home till 1 in the morning. Of course, got up and she went to school the next morning. So it was like me. I had to get up with her as well, but it was like, whoa, this film industry, I don't know. I mean, it's okay for adults, children, I'm not sure. But anyway,
which is why they do have a lot of protection laws for child actors.
Yeah. Back in the old days, forget about it.
Yeah, you might as well have been in a coal mine.
I've been about right. But anyway, I stayed in the trailer. Everybody got a trailer, and so I just stayed. And I'd go out every once in a while to see what was going on, but there was still snow on the ground. It was wintertime, late winter, whatever over there. And then the sound stage they had was over in Long Island City, I think, which was in Long Island, obviously.
So that was Pride and Glory.
I think it was Pride and Glory.
So you go out to the football field.
Yeah, because the name of the I always get them mixed up because the Sports Illustrated cover after they won the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Power and Glory. That was it.
I was going to say, so you're taking Hannah out there and there are scenes around the football field. Any of the actors like, hey, kind of a big guy, ever play any ball?
You want to
not really.
go rustle up on the field, man?
Hey, kid.
I still have John Voight's phone number. We can call him right now if you'd like. Don't ask me. Darren Gavin, I believe, was the director of that. I think his name is Darren Gavin. Or Gavin O'Connor, that's it. Darren Gavin, I'm thinking that's an old actor.
Well, check it out, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't know how it did at the box office, but there's a lot of stars, very, very violent, and it's about a New York cop family that also has a rogue,
Somebody brings
stories been told many times before, and now so Coco, the budding actress, songstress. Now, last summer, the summer of Coco, you had just gotten back off of a G6 or G8 or whatever from Alaska.
Yeah.
Is that the last time she was on the show? A year ago, I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
Because then she went
on. That long?
Right. You remember, let's recount what the dude's summer was last year. She takes off, goes to Alaska fishing for, it was a week. And we have low friends in high places, so we end up, or we're actually the low friends, and we got to high places, that we end up on a G6 and fly into Anchorage, and there then we picked up and we go down to Iggy Oggy, where Slim is, and Slim...
Kweejak
Lodge, owned by Mike McDowell, and I talked to Slim a couple weeks ago, and I told him to have him on the show. He's probably pissed I haven't called him. But, and I thought about having him on today with Coco because, she got such a kick out of watching Slim operate, who's a true native, dyed-in-the-wool Alaskan bush pilot. I mean,
He's what we call a character.
Yes, and the real deal. I mean, Slim's got a little BS to him, but he's pretty much down the middle of the road with what he tells you. He's not one of those guys that makes stuff up.
Yeah, he knows.
He's not like me.
My dad, he knows a lot of nature facts, and I'm always just in awe of how much he knows and everything. But when I got to Alaska, Slim was quizzing him left and right, and my dad was he's like, all right, what are the 5 animals that change color, turn to white in the winter?
Thank God he didn't ask about the 5 senses, because
that would have been tough.
That would have been a tough one on
But
time.
anyway, so she goes. So we go to Alaska. We fly back. This is late June, and within 2 or 3 days, she's on her way to Montauk, New York.
It's about a year ago. Today's June 30th.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right at the same time.
Right.
And she's there till the end of the summer, working in a marina with a friend of ours.
This is like a Netflix series, just living through the eyes of the teenage Coco, and how cool.
I'm the main character.
The wonderfulness. Listen, I mean, there's not many. I mean, there are obviously. There are kids obviously that when school's out, their parents fly them to Europe or whatever they spend. Right. I mean, some of the upper crusters.
Yeah, we go backpacking and.
Yeah, exactly. But my point is for somebody who was a rising junior last year, I mean, seriously, I was a little bit envious of Coco last year. I'm thinking, here I go up in the boondocks out in Centray, and with all the barbed wire, and I'm putting up hay all summer.
No radio.
For $1 an hour. Sweating my little rear off.
Yeah, that summer.
Actually,
wait a second. Didn't you have the one summer where you had the sign that said "Stop and Go"? And you fell asleep.
Oh, that was between my senior year and my freshman year in college. Yeah, it's funny too. You bring that up because I was literally thinking about it.
That's a tough gig.
There was a guy there who was the actual superintendent that ran everything, right? And he had it in for me because it was a little town, and I was John Riggins back in Nemaha County. I mean,
a young John Riggins,
exactly.
Full of piss and vinegar.
Yeah, oh yeah, and everybody had their sights on you for the most part. There's a lot.
You think you're better than us?
Huh?
You think you're better than us?
You know exactly how.
Yes, I do. So, I know this town of which you speak.
Yes, exactly. So he kind of had it in for me for the beginning, I think. But I remember, and I was thinking a couple of things I did. One was it was almost like Stir Crazy. Wasn't that the one with
That's
Gene
right,
Wilder?
We Bad and Richard Pryor.
But the one where they hang him up, for torturing, and they come to get him, and he goes, "Could you leave me for just another day or so? My back feels really starting to. These guys are. They make him do all this stuff. Well, the first thing he did was one day, the guy that ran the oil machine, where when they go, there's like a staging area where they make the mat, which is like asphalt with gravel in it, and then they lay that down.
So they're laying pavement?
Yeah, exactly. It's asphalt.
Woo!
In the asphalt business. So this guy couldn't do it. So the guy, Bud, that was his name, the superintendent, he was like, I'm going to get Riggins to run that. And he comes in here every day with those nice white socks. Yeah. We'll see how white his socks are at the end of the day. Because basically when you hit that, you turn that thing on and all that hot asphalt comes out of there, it splatters. And there's a rail across the back of it that you stand on. I was one step ahead of Bud. So when I'd hit the stuff, I'd be standing up on top of the tank. I mean, I was like 6 feet away from all the splatter. So at the end of the day, I come strolling in, those socks are just as white as that morning, and it just.
Can you imagine how hot that would be?
Oh, it ain't good.
Yeah, that's got to be a couple hundred degrees, doesn't it?
I don't know. It's that. Yeah, I guess. I mean, and they make it differently nowadays. You don't hardly ever see those.
But back then, John, I recall because I would.
Yeah. Well, they'd lay down when they'd lay down and they do it out on the road too because that's almost like the glue, and then they bring the mat and put on top of it, and you'd roll it, and they'd patch highways back in the old days. I don't think they even bought. Well, probably in places they do patch, but that stuff, like you said, it's got to be hot. Otherwise, it isn't liquid. You got to kind of make it soft or whatever. But and then there was the other time. But he gave me the slow sign, which is the guy that stands there and holds. And I remember all the guys in there.
How much were you getting paid?
I don't know, $1 or $2 an hour, about $2 an hour, something like that, $2.50 an hour.
Stop, slow and
slow and stop. Yeah. And,
so you actually did have to twist it and use your brain a smidge.
But there were guys on the. that started, because everybody was in on the gig. You know, I think everybody's in on it because there were guys that were there that would be veterans that were going, oh man, I'd rather run an idiot stick than hold the slow sign, and you know, which is a shovel. Idiot stick is a shovel, and so I kind of developed a whole new technique on the slow sign, particularly after a hard night of drinking before I went to work. I would take a knee and I would wrap the sign in my arm. And I would go to sleep on it.
Everybody's going slow.
Oh, no. As long as, I'd have the slow sign on, but some of those semis on US 36 did not slow down a whole lot. If one of those guys was having a rough night, I wouldn't be sitting here telling this story.
Listen, they're probably giving the trucker home and going, look at that guy, that's efficient. Yeah, homeboy's sleeping.
He's sleeping and he's still working. That's hard to do.
Wow.
So I foiled Bud once again. And then he ended up telling somebody, he says, we had that priest kid from Sabetha here last year, and I thought he was lazy, but he can't hold a candle to Riggo. And as I tell people, I'm not lazy, I'm just not ambitious. Just not ambitious.
Memorable.
There's a difference.
All right, so Coco goes to Montauk last year, living, you know, sounds like you had a cool gig in the marina, running out with jet skis and boats. And
I know. Last summer it was literally the best summer of my life.
Okay, so now we fast forward, and you have just completed your junior year of high school. Yeah. Little baby Coco's a rising senior.
Yep.
And what are we doing now?
Well, I need to get another summer job this year, so I'm working at 2 restaurants as a hostess. That's part of the thing. And then besides that, I'm just like tanning. And
professional tanner?
Yes.
Girls got to do what a girl's got to do.
I don't really have much going on. Although, I did have something going on yesterday. I drove to Georgetown to meet a friend.
She can drive now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. By herself?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And I drove,
Well, she spent the night at her sister's house.
Yeah.
Hannah.
Oh, gosh. So you're right around Georgetown, AU area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I drove down there to meet a friend, and she canceled. And then, so I didn't want to, like, really waste my trip. So I parked my car, and I put in, like, in my Waze, a little coffee shop or something, you know, like, just to have some alone time, you know. And I go and get the coffee, and then I'm, like, walking back, and I'm like, oh, I did not look.
A ticket.
No, I did not look what street I was parked on.
Oh.
And I am very bad at directions.
Rookie mistake.
Yeah, I am very bad. So
How long did it take you to find the car?
Well, I was walking for a long time. Like, I think I was walking.
Really?
I knew, but the thing was that I knew there was like a kind of a destination or like an area that I should be looking in, because one of my first turns when I was walking to find the coffee shop was on 29th Street. So I was like, okay, go back to 29th Street. So I went back to 20. My phone's at 20%. And
it's full on panic now.
Yeah, no, and I'm looking around, I'm walking, and I am just, and you know, I'm like, I told you guys this, but I was like 10 again, you know, I was like, oh my God, I'm never seeing my family again. I'm stuck.
The mean streets of upper Northwest.
Right,
I've got a story. Go ahead.
Wait, and I think like people were so confused because I would keep on seeing the same reoccurring people, and like they're probably like, what is this girl doing? She's walking around like forever, like looking.
Are you being held against your will?
Yeah,
you know what they say when you get lost? You just start walking in circles?
Yeah.
So you kept going around seeing the same
I think
people.
I was, and then, but yeah, so then basically I like talked to my mom, I called my sister and everything, trying to do that, and eventually my dad came down. And
well, she didn't call me.
It got that bad?
Why did
Did you think it was towed?
I was lost.
Did it ever consider your mind that your car was towed?
I didn't consider that, but I felt like I was like in Survivor or something, you know, with the coconut, and like in like Brunswick, like or something.
What do they do with the coconut?
You know, have you seen that where the guy like he's like on the island by himself and he starts like making his friends out of fruit?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought you meant the show Survivor, not the movie.
No,
Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson. I was like on the side of the road, like just losing it.
All right. So how did this get rectified?
Well, I had to drive down there. and Lisa Marie was going to go, and she said, "Well, can you go?" Because she works, and so I said, "Yeah, I'd go down."
Well, what's the phone call? What's the phone call like? I want to hear the description.
I didn't get the phone call.
What did you tell your mom? I've lost my car.
I was like, "Yeah, hi."
Can't find it.
So I tried to meet a friend down in Georgetown, and like I didn't really, and then she canceled, and then didn't want to waste my trip, so I went to a coffee shop. I don't really remember where I parked. I'm kind of lost right now. Like, I literally something like that. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And so then she kind of helped me out. She was like, okay, try to look around, walk around, But she was like, okay, I'll rescue. She wasn't that mad, honestly. I was really scared because I was like, what are you doing in Georgetown? Where are you? Why? You lost the car? Like, oh my God, I thought she was going to freak out. And then, but it was
She
fun.
reserves that for your dad in Florida and various...
Yes, she does.
True.
She does. She's triggered.
That was Coco, C-O-C-O.
Yeah. And so then, but then she texted and she was like, okay, Daddy's on his way. He's going to pick you up. And I was like, no, can you come down? Like, I know Daddy's going to be so mad. And, no, but you were actually fine. But it was very hard because I did not. He was like, okay, like, did you park on M Street? Like, did you make a turn? Did you make a left turn? I was like, Daddy, if I knew.
I turned into Kojak.
If I knew that.
We wouldn't be here.
I didn't have a Tootsie Roll. I turned into Kojak.
Who loves you, baby?
My hair's dipping.
So, yeah, he was like, okay, did you, like, turn left on M Street or 29th Street? Were you on 29th? Did you make it? I was like, I don't know.
Well, Coco doesn't, like you said, she doesn't really, and nobody does though. If you ever notice when you ride with somebody,
You don't pay attention.
you don't have any idea. The driver, they're kind of responsible for where you're going and getting back and knowing basically they're their own navigator. I know I'm bad like that, and I don't know how I got there, and that's. Coco's like that all these years. She drives around. She never pays attention to where she is, so she doesn't have a sense of where she is. In particular, Georgetown, let's face it, we hardly ever go down there. So
True.
There's no way she would have a real, have an idea. Because I kept talking about M Street. I said, because she came down Wisconsin. Her sister lives up around AU, and so she comes down Wisconsin. I said, well, did you turn left or right off of Wisconsin? And
I don't know.
No, she did know. She said I turned left. But it made it sound like whereabouts, but she didn't. And so we started driving around where I kind of thought she might be, but that was the wrong way to approach it. What we did was, and it was Coco's suggestion. She says, "Well, let's go all the way up Wisconsin, is pretty far, and come back down so I can kind of kind of try to get back in my mind as I'm coming down. Where did I turn?" So we go all the way up, or we come all the way down. And we get down to M Street, and I can turn left there or stay straight. And she kept talking about the waterfront. And I'm going, God, did you cross over M Street? You have no clue because you don't know anything about M Street. That's like Wisconsin and M. That's Georgetown.
And Daddy's still hanging in there, not getting fired up
No,
yet?
I was having a little...
I was like, I don't know.
And then Coco's riding around. She's doing this. Well, let me see if I can
because I was like,
Outfitters. I said,
Urban Outfitters.
yeah, that ain't going to help you now.
And he's like, get off your phone. Like, I just...
Dad, I'm down to 7%. Stop yelling.
Because we're looking for a car, and Coco's looking at her phone while, there's
He's
cars
like,
on
you
both
gotta
sides
get
of
out
it.
of you have your whole world here. You need to be out here.
Oh, you're getting a phone lecture now. I love it. This is
what
beautiful.
a millennial does.
Yeah.
It's all right here.
Yeah.
You got to have a little wherewithal. You got to have a little bit of Jim Bridger in you. Know what the hell's going on
It's like,
out
who the
around
hell's
you.
Jim Bridger? I need an app for that. And there actually is a
The
parking
Jim Bridger
app.
app.
Jim Bridger. Find my car.
Yes,
There's a parking app. It's
So
a
wait a
built-in on
second.
your phone.
I did not know that.
Did you
What's
know
that?
that? There's a built-in parking on your phone.
Yeah,
Even my
well, we
dad
know
was
after
like,
the fact now.
even my
Yeah.
dad was like, no, she shouldn't get that though, because she needs to she needs to actually use her mind to navigate. Like,
Exactly.
It's true.
Count your steps.
This is crap.
It's true. When the apocalypse comes, you're
I could
gonna,
live
in a
without
zombie
this.
apocalypse, Coco, you're going to
Yeah.
have to use your brain.
I know. That's
It's eventually
true.
going to have to go back to where it's going to have to go back to old school at some point in time.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we cross over M Street and we're heading down. I said, well, because you can see it. I said, well, and there's some fountains down there now at the bottom of Wisconsin as you look at the Potomac River, and there's fountains that are shooting back and forth. I said, well, did you see that? Because I'm thinking, remember if you saw that.
The Georgetown waterfront?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean,
That's a long way away from.
yes, it is. But
No, but I just thought it was
that's where I'm going. She got no.
Wow, that's a
clue.
lot of real estate to cover.
So then we go back up. We go back up Wisconsin, cross back over M Street, and then we turn back around and we come back down again. It says, well, make a left here, and then I was like, oh yeah, there's Urban Outfitters
yes,
right over there.
I passed the Urban
Which
Outfitters.
was the
I knew that.
Urban Outfitters is on
Right.
M Street. Is on M Street.
Yes, warmer.
So we go down to. So then she remembers 29th. So she said she made a left on I don't know if she said on 29th, but anyway, we turned on the 29th because that was the one street she remembers, 29th Street. And we go up there, and all of a sudden I get up to N, and I make a right, and there's the car.
Yep.
What was the emotion? What was the first thing
I
you
was
said?
so happy. Like, I was like, oh my God. And it was a moment of, like, I just turned to him. We're both smiling.
And I'm sitting here, yeah, because
It
I'm
was a
thinking,
beautiful moment.
I'm thinking you're
It was
at
like,
that Charlie when he went to get on the MTA and he could never get off of it. You remember that old song?
No.
It's an old song.
Sorry.
You ain't that much younger than me. Didn't
Sorry. Sing
Well, he rode
sing
the
her humble
streets of
bar.
Boston that he never could return. He rode the streets of because he didn't have money or something to get off the MTA, the Metro, Transit Authority. So anyway, I thought that's what we're going to be. At 2:00 in the morning, I'm still going to be driving around down there looking for a car. Because in the back of my mind, I'm going, did it get towed? Because if it got towed,
Right.
then this is stupid.
Yeah.
And Coco said, I almost wished it would have gotten towed. And I said, oh no,
Validated.
you don't wish it got
no,
towed.
I was like, well, I
Validating
know
about
where it is.
$400 worth of.
No.
$400, not to
now.
mention you got to go down someplace downtown,
Been there.
walk in, pay for it,
Been there.
yeah, and then go get your car.
Yeah.
Wherever the
Yeah,
hell that may
so-
be, because you never know where it ends up.
I was.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, yeah, we had that beautiful moment, and then it was just like, I got out of the car, and he's like, all right, I'll see you at home. Like, I'm like, yeah. Get in
What
my
was I supposed to
car.
do? There's no sense trying to follow one another. I'm going.
No, it was beautiful. It was like a nice.
Dad, I'm
like-
going to go around the block to a different coffee shop and get some more Joe.
Yeah.
You can get your butt home and you can start studying
I'm
something.
going to find a parking spot.
Oh my God.
All well.
exactly.
So lesson learned, a life lesson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Here's a free
Should
one.
not happen again.
Here's a free one from Uncle T, though. If you ever go to a big sporting event or a
Yeah.
concert, those are the worst because nobody's thinking about where you parked. And if you got
So
a
stupid.
stadium that's got
I think
50, 75,000 or something like that, the volume of
That's
that,
great.
I've had
Yeah.
some nightmares trying to find the
No,
automobile
yeah. I think
there.
I realized like halfway through I was walking to the coffee shop. I was like, oh, do I remember where I was? And I was like, nah, I'll be fine. Like,
See?
just keep walking.
Put down the glass mirror.
Right. And I even I was going to tell you this, I had a dream last night that I lost my car again.
You dreamed about it.
Oh, okay.
Well,
so
that's
it's printed. This is
It's
printed.
a
I was going to say,
Nightmare.
it definitely imprinted.
And I was
It
like,
went
how
down.
did I do this again?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
scary. I don't like it.
well, you brought up a great point.
Even the
That
heat.
when and particularly if you go out to places where there's a place where there's really no, like, place where it says Lot D or, where it's just wide open, that gets real tricky parking at something like. You almost have to take photographs.
That's what I started. That's what I started doing, John.
Huh?
I started taking photographs
Well,
of
that's what I did,
landmarks
too.
around me.
That's what I do,
Right.
particularly like in an airport parking lot or any of that stuff. Find out exactly, or where you got to park, what row you're on, or what level you're on, and all that stuff. But what I was going to say is, if you think about it in those terms, and I don't know exactly how they did it, but how about the mountain men that just rode off?
Well, Lewis and Clark.
Well, but they had a river to follow.
They had a river.
They didn't know how far that river went.
They were pretty confident that it went all the way to wherever they were headed, but they didn't.
They were hopeful. I don't know about
But
confident.
of course,
Guess those are
they were
second
wrong.
chances.
They were wrong.
Yes,
but
they
thought
were.
it was.
Yes.
But once they found that river, they were good. They could get all the way back to St. Louis.
That should be the name of the app. Lewis and Clark. Find
Yes.
my car.
Hey, that's
Lewis and
good.
Clark,
I
that
like
is
it.
good.
Yeah, I'll go with
That's
that. But anyway, I'm thinking though, when you get, now these guys didn't have, they're back in, the Tetons and all these areas, and it's always like anything else. Deer hunting's the same thing. If you're in a strange place, you don't know where you are. You walk in, it's almost like you got to somehow mark where, it isn't easy to do. I'll tell you that. It's easy to get lost. if you're out in a place, like with cars where everything looks the same, and you walk in. I mean, you always think, well, if I look back behind me, I'll know what it looks like coming out. Good luck with that.
Well,
that's why they blaze trails, so you can get in and get out. That's what
trailblazers.
And that's probably what they did. Yeah, that's where the word comes from. Trail.
Well, when you get out into Alaska, where you at, or some vast out in the West, and where you're from, and all, how many times that hikers get lost, and a lot of times it ends very tragically.
Right.
You get in these huge spaces where you have lost all sense of everything. So if you don't have, and your phone is out of juice, you better have some wherewithal to figure this out. So listen to that.
You bring up a great point too there about people who get lost, and the first thing that happens, I sometimes use this in a speech when I give it, is about survival. And a lot of times, and this is what you experienced a little bit yesterday, you panic. The first thought you thought was, I'll never leave Georgia. In other words, I'll never see home again.
Like the lost is like, have you heard about the lost girl in Georgetown?
Yeah. We can't get her out of the Burberry store, though.
Legends say she's still on the street.
She's still in the store.
Main Street.
She's run out of cash.
Yeah, but anyway,
they
say a lot of times they find people, when they don't make it, because the first thing you got to do is turn it into a camping trip and look at the bright side of things. And once you take that, I'll never get out of here, you probably won't. They find people without their clothes on. They panic and they start stripping clothes off. I don't know.
Wow.
I've heard that.
Yeah. Not too much longer than
I have been found a couple times nude out in the woods. That's true.
Coco's naked in Georgetown. What are we doing? Coco, we're in Georgetown.
Start breaking into houses. Oh my God.
Well, all well's in it. Well, you've got a story to tell, and you've learned a valuable life lesson.
Well,
the summer's getting off to a good start.
One more add-on. I said I have a story. When I was in 7th grade, I believe it was 7th grade, maybe a little bit younger, maybe 5th, 6th grade. My father and I and my older brother, we went down to at Kansas State University in Manhattan, the Wildcats, at Ahern Fieldhouse, because Oscar Robertson and another friend of my dad's and his two sons, we went down together. There was like 6 of us, right? 4 boys, 2 adults. So we go down there, and we went to the student union, and we're there, and I went over to do something, and I turned around, and everybody was gone. It's like, and here we are, in your 6th, 7th grade, whatever. And I was like, I was going through what you went through, but I was a lot younger, and so I was like the same thing. It was like, I'm never going to see home again. I'm never going to see Mom and Dad. It was like, and so I went and found some kind of a cop or something, and I was like, I'm lost. I don't. Everybody left.
You're kind of big to be lost, aren't you?
And finally, within a few minutes, it's like, we turned a corner and there they were, but it was like, God, what a terrible feeling.
Wait, what happened? Did they just walk?
Yeah, no, we found, they just, they turned around and went around the corner or whatever, and I was, when I didn't see anybody, it was like, I don't know, it's like, maybe my senses were good. Don't move. That's what they say. You get lost, stay where you are. Don't start wandering around, because that makes it worse.
Now, I'm going to bring this full circle, because I think this is like a year anniversary here, and this could be a thing, because, correct me if I'm wrong, it was a year ago, and with Uncle Jerry in Alaska,
there you go.
You lost him. You lost him, right? And he was like hanging out with the bears and communicating with nature and
walking down the trail with snacks in his pockets.
With snacks in his pockets,
basically
bears.
T-bone steaks tied to his waist.
And he'd already been through the preamble they give you when you get there about what you don't do. Which the number one is don't walk around with food, even soda pop. You can't have soda. Which I think he had candy and soda pop.
He's like, hey, where's your bears? Where's your bears? Who needs a red hot? Hey,
Mr. Chocolate, Mr. Chocolate.
We're lucky that Uncle Jerry's still with us.
Jerry.
So he was lost in the wilderness. You were lost in the mean streets of Georgetown.
Yeah.
So you've learned a lot in 2 summers.
Yeah.
All we know, dude, is when you're in Alaska, at least in Katmai National Park, that the bark grows on the west side of the trees. The trees. No, the wind blows. The trees will all fall towards the west, so you know which way west is.
Right.
That was a Slim.
And Slim has confirmed
Slim
this.
told us.
All right, we'll get Slim back here. See if we can't get Slim back next week or the week after.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what. Right now, the sockeye run will be in on the Kvichak River. It probably. I'll be curious. I may give Slim a call today or whatever and see what's going on up there. The rainbow fishing on opening day, he was there opening day, it was very good. J-Rod, I think, caught 31 fish the first morning he went out. Right, catch and release, but still, that's pretty. But the sockeye run in the Kvichak River is the largest sockeye run in the world. So when those fish roll through there, and that's quite a sight to see, really, because they come through and they're shoulder to shoulder, and sometimes there's 2, maybe 3, sometimes 5, 6, and they're all abreast coming up, and it's almost like they're on a trail. They all follow the same thing up there, and they'll move from one side of the river to the other, and it's amazing, you know. And you don't really, a sockeye, they tell me though, eats almost like krill, which means that you can. It's not a fish you really can catch on rod and reel.
You're almost scooping them out with nets?
It's basically, they call it the keen-eye twitch, which is where you throw it out and you let your line and drags across their mouth. And
eventually you're going to hook one?
Well, that's the way you hook them.
Wow.
They ain't going at, well, no,
they're not going after bait, right?
They tell me, well, once a salmon, it don't make a difference if it's king salmon or a coho or any of that stuff. Once they hit fresh water, their only thought is reproduction. So they don't eat, and they've got all the fat stores built up from years in the ocean, and that sees them all the way through to the end run where they finally spawn and die. But so when a salmon hits the water, it's really more. And to this day, they can't. I've never heard anybody come up with a definitive reason why take a Chinook, which is a king salmon, the biggest of the salmon species, that why it will hit a lure. And a lot of people say because it's like a defensive mechanism, that they're striking it because it's something instinctively they feel like could threaten their eggs.
Wow. So it's more of a protection thing.
I mean, that's just theory, but I don't know.
Nature. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
So anyway, you've got a special treat for us here. Let's get
to it. Yeah, Coco. I gotta check this out. I'm gonna get a special treat. We're gonna go back in time a little bit here.
Okay.
All right, Coco, we're going to go back in time and we're going to check out a deal with your dad here.
Okay.
The year is 1979. The Redskins are playing the Philadelphia Eagles. Mm-hmm. And you guys had played each other already one time. Now, I want you to take in this post-game, the game, the graphics, and this is 42 years ago.
Okay.
That'll do it. So in his history, it was all Philadelphia 2 weeks ago, and it is all Washington today. And the Redskins and the Eagles now have an identical record of 6 victories and 2 defeats.
6 and 2.
As George Allen said, and the words really hang in the air, it is so very, very difficult for one team to beat another twice. Darren Talbert showing how happy Washington is. The NFL on CBS will...
Richie Pettibone.
Ronnie Saul. Look at old Ronnie. Look at Ronnie. Look at Ronnie limping off. The Warrior.
Oh, yeah. You said it's 1979.
79.
After this word...
Yeah, there's Ronnie. There's the Toad.
Who's the Toad?
I thought that was Tom Owen.
It was, number 12.
Was it Tom Owen? You've done your research here?
CBS Sports.
California is about to crack down on a doctor involved in what the state says could be the biggest medical fraud ever. But the doctor is still practicing. How come? Watch 60 Minutes tonight at 7, 6 Central and Mountain on CBS.
Same promos. Now check this post game out.
You are looking at the strong visage of one John Riggins, 30 years old, 9 years out of
I
Kansas.
didn't recognize myself.
No, you look like you don't know where you are.
Herbert Montgomery's name was on everybody's lips.
You look
and coming
confused.
out of it, it's John
I
Riggins.
am. I've always been confused.
John, congratulations.
Thanks, Vince. I can tell you right now,
It's the
though,
same
that
voice.
a lot of those yards are with the offensive linemen. We had a little bit different scheme today than we had 2 weeks ago up there. I suppose you noticed we run the veer play where we start like we're going to go outside and then we cut it back. And that play probably got as many yards as all the rest of them put together.
Well, 2 weeks ago, you ran
Vin Scully.
15 yards, veer or no.
Weren't you the voice of the Dodgers year
Yes.
after years?
Makes you think I'd want to play Philadelphia every week, but that isn't quite true. They got a good defense. But the 34,
My teeth
I
look
suppose,
good.
if you go out,
Yeah.
again,
No,
they
you
got
look
on the ground,
good.
which we were fortunate enough to do today.
Oh, look, you got a drip of sweat
Your
coming
own
down.
Personal
You've been
history
working
books.
hard.
You also ran for your highest total, 97 yards in one game last year against guess who?
Right, the Eagles.
Yeah.
I loaded up with buckshot for the Eagles.
I tell you what, you're going to have your picture on the walls of the post offices in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Now, let's get back to that 44. George Allen is right here. John, I know
And I have hair.
George Allen.
Congratulations. Heck of a
Curly hair.
game.
Thanks,
And it's
George.
dark.
I haven't heard this voice for a while.
Yeah. What?
Ooh, now you look all
George Allen.
That's what was throwing me off.
Yes.
Because they said his name in the beginning. I'm going, Well, he wasn't a coach in '79.
Yeah, he was the broadcast. He was the broadcast booth with Vin doing color.
He was doing the color. I'll be darned.
Yeah.
You look all
And I don't even
fresh out.
remember this.
Really?
I don't remember doing this post-game interview.
And wait till you see how long this thing is.
Huh?
Apparently they had to fill, because this is one of the longest post-game on-field interviews I've ever seen. He's got your dad's got the neck brace rolling.
Yeah.
He's got the Fu Manchu going.
No, that's what I'm saying. He looks so much.
And you know what? It's perfect. That's
like,
why I got a neck brace, but you see, it didn't do me any good. I can't really move my neck.
Maybe that's where your neck problems come from.
That was the beginning.
Listen to George Allen, your ex-coach, and his questions and the high praise he has for you.
In good shape. What are you weighing?
Just right at 230, maybe a little under. I was sick this week, and so I lost a couple extra pounds because of that, and I had planned on getting my weight down a little bit. I had been over 230 by just a little bit, and I'll tell you what,
You also?
the condition down here today, I imagine it was 80 degrees plus,
Yeah.
and I'm glad I didn't have the extra weight.
Well, you're running really
Sound like a
made
boxer.
difference. I think your ability to run the football and pick up yardage allowed Joe to fake to you with the play action and then throw the football and not be rushed.
Yeah, well, that's the way. I'll tell you what, though, ideally, I think we'd like to get our halfback to get a few more yards so it would take the pressure off myself and Joe as well. Although, in the second half, it seemed, I'm not sure, Benny was doing a good job, and Ike Forte came in and did a heck of a nice job.
Benny Malone?
If we
Yeah,
get a
Benny
halfback
Malone.
running
The
and get
late
as many
Benny
yards as a
Malone.
fullback, we're going to be tough down the stretch.
Benny, he was
totals
rough and tough.
So it was.
Benny could rough your feathers up if you wanted him to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was all out all the time. He was.
And Ike Forte?
Ike Forte, yeah.
Gosh, I don't remember Ike being on the team.
Oh yeah, you remember the name though?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I think he was with
New England? Yeah, he was with the
exactly.
Patriots.
And then he ended up down
That's-
here.
You have, I can hear more of your like Midwestern accent.
You
in
say
this,
what?
Too. He has more of like an accent.
He's got a higher
What,
Midwestern
Yeah,
accent.
he's like, wait, I went in down.
That's interesting because we had some workers
I
over
weigh
there.
about 230 right now.
That's where I get it.
Coco does a pretty good young dad.
Dude does a lot of good stuff, like imitating people. We had a guy over there working on the yard, or working on some of the stonework over there by the construction we got going over there. And I'm listening, and I thought there was a woman out there working with the guy. He was, and now I'm sounding like, hey, chocolate,
Mr. Chocolate.
Okay.
All right, so George just getting warmed up with his line of questioning here.
Yards in 19 carries. Benny Malone, 24 yards in 12 carries. But what's your high? Do you keep track of how many carries you have in a game?
Well, my high will probably come in about another hour after the ball game.
Nice.
Back at you, George.
Dad shoots and scores.
That's good.
My high will be in about an hour.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
Tell me like it
Work
is.
it. Work
Get
it.
Don't blame you. 19 carries even though you were feeling poorly at the start of the game and on a hot day.
Yeah, it was. It was terribly muggy down here, and I suppose the heat isn't as bad as the humidity can be sometime. And being in Washington, this is a humid area, and it took its toll. And I think that even the Eagles felt a little bit of this heat today.
John, I brought out that I felt you were one of the best pass receivers in the league as a running back, as a
Swear you never
fullback,
threw to me.
and that you hadn't caught many passes this year.
Right.
Well, thanks, George, because you totally underutilized me my entire career with you, but thanks for acknowledging me now. Did he not?
Yeah, that goes back to the fact that it goes back to a drop pass in New York years ago. The offensive coordinator, I'm pretty sure it was Joe Walton, and it was probably the year before this. I think it was the year before in '78 we lost a game up there, and that's when they started doing I'd come out on third down. I no longer was a.
Wow.
I was no longer.
You were no longer an option in the passing game.
No,
Right?
and you know what? On the one hand, I kind of was like, I'm fine with this really for the most part, because always you'd always run your route or whatever if you had one to run, and nobody ever threw you the ball.
You're always the check off or the dump
Yeah,
off.
that's why I dropped the ball, because I probably run. I'm like, what? You're throwing it to me? I'm not-
Surprise!
Yeah, I'm just out here drawing a defender. You're going to throw me the ball. So yeah, that kind of.
I just thought that was rich from George Allen,
Yeah.
who everybody knew completely mischaracterized your abilities.
Would say, well, but it wasn't that so much as there were other priorities, which was defense
We don't even like stinking
and special
offense.
teams,
Right.
And offense. Don't screw it up.
the way we're working it now, and believe it or not, I kind of like it. I get to come out on third down, and on a day like today, I particularly appreciated it because if I'd have had to go the whole game, you may have to be doing this interview from the trainer's room while I'm packed in ice.
Hey, John, maybe this is an unfair question, but after all, it was in the headlines here in Washington and maybe in Philadelphia as well. In preparing for this game, Jack Pardee was accusing the Eagles of holding in the line. Then Vermeil said, oh, Jack doesn't have any class, or I thought he had more class. They were talking about holding elbows. And we were trying to figure, well, maybe Pardee was just trying to pump you fellas up. And then the first holding call on a running play was against Washington.
Right, well, that's what they call psychological warfare. And I don't know whether it worked or not. I'll tell you what, 9 times out of 10, when you start something like that, it happens just as you said. You point out the other team's faults, and you end up getting caught for what you was hoping they were going to catch them for.
Well,
That was like double good.
That was
double good.
That was deep. That's
Spy versus Spy.
Wow.
That's right. That was Mad Magazine. Spy versus
You're
Spy.
so philosophical.
psychological warfare.
Yeah, exactly. Which is still good. The only thing I was missing on was what do they call it nowadays? What do they call it when the warfare nowadays will be fought with computers.
Oh yeah.
What do you call it?
Well, I heard the one where
Cyber?
it's like,
Cyber warfare.
Cyber warfare. It was mental jujitsu right there.
Exactly.
Was it a very emotional game going in? Pardee
cried the
said
whole
playing
time.
the Eagles is like playing Dallas. And in the first sequence, there were a couple of punches thrown right away. Was it more so than usual?
No, I don't think so. I think we had a quiet type of confidence amongst the team where we didn't need to get ourselves so roused up and, be inclined to, say, start throwing a few fists on the field. I would like to think we went about our job as bricklayers or whatever. We were very methodical. We knew what we wanted to do, and we tried to do it, and from the score, I think we did.
George said that it's almost impossible to beat another team twice, and that certainly held up today.
Especially at home. And, of course, we lost the game up there, and I don't know, I guess all the experts always figure that home field is worth 7 points.
Well, our congratulations to John Riggins. Our thanks for the visit. Final score, 17-7, Washington.
I got my money's worth.
did you have to shave?
By the way, the throwing of punches, anytime that were to occur,
12 seconds.
funky white boys over on the side. I didn't come here.
Did I hear third down? I'm not.
I'm not a boxer. I'm not a fighter. I'm a football player.
Did you have to shave your beard in a certain way to get that mustache?
I think I just shaved the sides of my face. Yeah, I did.
42 years ago, Coco. What do you think of Pops?
Wow, that was, nothing's changed.
42 years ago, that's 79. I'd have been 30 years old.
Said you were 30 at the time.
Right, so I was only 13 years older than you.
Nothing's much. The facial expressions are there. Voice is still kind of there, except it got deeper over the years.
Now he's more Tommy Lee Jones. And
Yeah, right.
He did have the higher Kansas twang there.
Yeah, you did. Oh, yeah, your twang. That's what it did.
Yeah, a little bit. I still got that. You can't get away from it. I always cringe when I see myself doing stuff like that. Cause
Yeah, but
I
that's a
think it's so
good
cute,
Midwestern
though.
accent that people.
I think
It's pleasant.
those kind of videos. I think it's really
I'm
cute
wondering-
when I see him that young. 'Cause,
well, you go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, I think it's cute when I see you that young. You're just a man full of life.
Yeah, and most of it's taken off. All right, guys. I think that's the end of the run. Coco, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You never know. Maybe next week. Particularly, we get Slim on.
It's summertime,
Right.
Coco. We expect to see more of you now that you're a landlubber here, and the
Yes.
lifestyles of the rich and famous. We're going to take it down.
Only time I'm leaving is for college visitations, which we can talk about another time.
Okay,
But
we
even
shall.
that, then I wouldn't be here. All right, guys. That's it for today. Riggo out.